I don't even have enough for my own ticket, but you need it more." He emptied his pocket and bought the young soldier's ticket. He had no idea that 35 years later, fighter jets would be flying over his house, and the world would witness what he had done. "Hey everyone, welcome to Legacy Tales." Daniel sat on the worn-out bench of the train station, his hands digging through his pockets, hoping to find a few extra coins. Nothing. Just a few crumpled bills that barely covered his own ticket. Across from him, a young soldier stood in his faded uniform, staring at the schedule board with empty hands and tired eyes. "Sir, please, I need to get home. My mother's sick, and I don't have enough money for a ticket." His voice was desperate, but the ticket clerk didn't even look up. Daniel exhaled, looking down at the last bit of money he had. He hadn't eaten all day, saving every penny just to get home. But something about the soldier's face, his helplessness, made Daniel's heart ache. Without thinking twice, he stepped forward and placed the money on the counter. "One ticket for him," Daniel said firmly. The soldier's eyes widened. "Sir, I can't take this." "You can, and you will." Daniel forced a smile, ignoring the hunger gnawing at his stomach. "Go home." The young soldier hesitated, then grabbed Daniel's hands with gratitude. "I won't forget this. Ever." Daniel watched as the soldier boarded the train, waving until the doors closed. He sighed, turning back to the bench, unsure of how he'd get home now. The sky darkened, and the station lights flickered on. He had just given away his last hope of leaving, but deep inside, he felt lighter. He had no idea that this one act of kindness had just set something in motion, something that would return to him in a way he could never imagine. The cold night air wrapped around Daniel as he sat back on the bench, staring at the empty train tracks. He had no money left, no way to get home, and no idea what to do next. But deep inside, he felt at peace. Just then, a deep voice broke his thoughts. "That was a generous thing you did." Daniel turned and saw an old man in a station uniform watching him. His face was wrinkled with time, but his eyes held wisdom. Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah, generous and stupid. Now I'm stuck here with nothing." The old man smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe kindness has a way of coming back." Daniel didn't reply. He just leaned back and sighed, watching as another train arrived. He could see the soldier through the window, sitting near the back, his head resting against the seat. He looked relieved. Safe. Home was waiting for him. And Daniel? He had nowhere to go, but then something unexpected. The old man reached into his pocket and pulled out a train ticket. He held it out with a small grin. Daniel frowned. "What's this?" "A ticket. You gave away yours, right? So take this one. Consider it the universe paying you back." Daniel's eyes widened. "But why would you—" The old man just patted his shoulder. "Sometimes we just need to help each other." Daniel hesitated, but then took the ticket, his hands slightly trembling. He couldn't believe it. Just minutes ago he thought he was stranded. Now he had a way home. As the train doors opened, he stepped inside, still in disbelief. He found a seat and looked out the window. The old man was still standing there, nodding at him. And then he was gone, disappearing into the station's crowd. Daniel never saw him again. But that night, as the train moved forward, he realized something. Kindness had a way of coming back. He just didn't know that this was only the beginning. Because 35 years later, the skies above his home would be filled with fighter jets, and the entire world would hear his name. Daniel stood in his front yard, his heart pounding as the deafening roar of fighter jets filled the sky. Neighbors had gathered, staring in awe as the sleek aircrafts soared in perfect formation, their trails painting the sky. He couldn't understand. Why were they here? Why were they circling his house? And then a black car pulled up. Military officials stepped out, their uniforms crisp, their expressions solemn yet respectful. One of them, a high-ranking officer, approached with steady steps. "Mr. Daniel?" The officer removed his cap and looked him in the eye. "A man once told me that kindness has a way of coming back. Today, it finally did." Daniel's breath hitched. That voice, it sounded familiar. The officer smiled. 35 years ago, I was just a scared young soldier with no way to get home, and you gave me everything when you had nothing." His voice trembled. "That day changed my life, and today I wanted the world to know what you did." Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes. He remembered that night at the train station, the moment he handed over his last few dollars without a second thought. He never expected anything in return. The officer took a deep breath. "I'm no longer just that lost soldier. Today I'm the chief commander of the Air Force." He stepped aside and saluted. "And this flyover, it's for you." Daniel's lips parted, but no words came out. His chest tightened with emotion as the jets above roared once more, their synchronized movement like a silent tribute. His knees felt weak. He had spent years believing that small acts of kindness didn't change the world. But standing here, surrounded by respect, gratitude, and the sound of roaring engines, he finally understood. Kindness wasn't just a small act. It was a force, a ripple that could change lives in ways he never imagined. As the jets made one final pass, Daniel looked up, his eyes glistening. He didn't need riches, power, or fame. He had something far greater, a life that mattered. Kindness never goes unnoticed. A small act today can change someone's future in ways you may never see. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Legacy Tales. See you in the next story.